Mohammed bin Salam has found himself under intense scrutiny recently. It's become clear that the president of the FIA is under pressure to shift the way he handles things in order to improve his image within the sport. After imposing strict penalties on drivers for using foul language on the grid, many believe it's high time for a change. Ben Salam is rumored to have softened his stance, but the question remains, is it too late? How will the drivers react to this shift in approach? There's no shortage of controversy surrounding Ben Salam, but nothing has sparked more debate than the penalties for swearing. He's a figure who has caused some of his own employees at the FIA to question whether the organization is truly headed in the right direction. It's no surprise that high-profile figures have left the FIA in recent months, with many of them believing that the organization no longer represents what it once stood for. Robert Reid, for instance, who was the vice president of the FIA, and David Richards, the chairman of Motorsport UK, are among those who've parted ways with the governing body. Robert Reid, in particular, made it clear that the FIA is no longer what it once was under Ben Salam's leadership. His comments highlighted a shift in the FIA's approach, especially with the introduction of new laws that seem to bypass proper consultation with other key members. While the FIA oversees more than just Formula One, including the Rally Championship, Formula E, and the World Endurance Championship, the penalties that Ben Salam implemented have affected all these racing categories, not just F1. What's even more controversial is that the penalty Ben Salam proposed would be 4 times harsher if applied to Formula One drivers. The argument from the drivers is straightforward. They race at speeds approaching 300 km/h, and the last thing on their minds is whether they use a curse word in the heat of the moment. Despite the rules on foul language being voted on, we still hear drivers swearing over the radio. This suggests that the drivers are sending a clear message to Ben Salam. Just because he wants to enforce his specific vision of governance doesn't mean it's the right one. Now, with Ben Salam possibly softening his stance, there's a chance we could see a shift in the narrative. The key focus right now is on the Appendix B of the International Sporting Code, which outlines penalties for drivers using inappropriate language. It's no coincidence that this issue came up right after Ben Salam had a tense confrontation with Max Verstappen at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. According to Verstappen, their exchange had nothing to do with the penalty he received at the start of the race, but his comments afterward spoke volumes about the ongoing tensions between the FIA and the drivers. Verstappen made it clear that he feels unable to speak freely without risking penalties. He shared his frustrations, saying that even discussing issues within the sport could lead to trouble. In his own words, he felt it was safer to stay silent, as anything he said could be misinterpreted or lead to penalties. It's not just Max, who's critical of Ben Salam's leadership. There's a growing sense of dissatisfaction among the drivers, and the GPDA, Grand Prix Drivers Association, is starting to make its voice heard. George Russell, as the president of the GPDA, recently spoke out about the lack of transparency between the FIA and Formula One. He expressed his disappointment that every time news comes from the governing body, it's not a surprise. Often, it's bad news. Russell emphasized the importance of stability in the sport, highlighting that the drivers trust Stefano Domenicali and F1 management to collaborate effectively with the teams. He made it clear that the focus should be on working together, not fighting over unnecessary issues. The drivers just want to see cooperation and an end to the constant tension with the FIA. Russell's comments reflect a broader sentiment that the sport needs stability, and it's clear that many within the paddock feel that Ben Salam's leadership is not providing that. It's not just about swearing penalties, it's about the overall direction of the sport and how the governing body interacts with the teams and drivers. The tension surrounding Ben Salam's leadership doesn't end with the swearing penalties. One notable figure, former race steward Tim Mayer, was one of the first to raise questions about the legitimacy of these penalties. Mayer pointed out that Ben Salam seemed to impose his personal views on the sport, particularly when it came to penalizing drivers for using foul language. Mayer further explained that Ben Salam often bypassed the stewards and directly communicated his wishes through his staff, pushing his own agenda. This situation has led to growing concerns about Ben Salam's approach to governance. While it's clear that the FIA is supposed to enforce the rules, many feel that Ben Salam's actions are more about making a statement than ensuring fairness. The issue of swearing penalties is just one example of how his leadership has been questioned. And as we approach the end of the year, Ben Salam will need to prove to the Council that he still deserves to lead the FIA. As the year progresses, the pressure on Ben Salam intensifies. At the end of this year, there will be a crucial meeting where he will need to convince the Council that he is still the right person to lead the FIA. This will be no easy task, especially considering the mounting discontent among drivers and other key figures within the motorsport community. The GPDA's involvement in this decision will be significant, as the drivers will have a say in whether Ben Salam remains in power. It's hard to see a scenario where he will win the majority of votes, given the widespread dissatisfaction with his leadership. Ben Salam's tenure has been marked by controversy. From interfering with negotiations between Liberty Media and potential investors, to imposing rules that many see as unnecessary or even damaging to the sport. His interference in areas like the handling of F1's media rights and his stance on driver behavior has only added to the tension. The drivers in particular feel that Ben Salam is too focused on controlling aspects of the sport that should be left to the competitors and teams themselves. Another point of contention under Ben Salam's leadership is the ban on wearing jewelry for F1 drivers. This rule, which many saw as an infringement on the driver's personal freedom, caused a significant uproar, especially when Lewis Hamilton was forced to remove all but some of his jewelry ahead of the 2022 Monaco Grand Prix. The rule was seen as overly strict and out of touch with the modern-day athletes who participate in F1. The drivers felt that it was an unnecessary regulation that did not contribute to the sport's integrity in any meaningful way. The GPDA has repeatedly called for more transparency from the FIA, urging them to treat the drivers like adults rather than imposing arbitrary rules. The fact that Ben Salam seemed to focus on such minute details while failing to address the bigger issues within the sport left many frustrated. His actions, such as enforcing rules that the drivers found excessive, have only worsened the relationship between him and the competitors. It's clear that there's a significant disconnect between Ben Salam's vision for the FIA and the reality that the drivers, teams, and fans want to see. As Ben Salam's reign continues, the questions surrounding his leadership grow louder. His decision-making, particularly with regards to the drivers and their rights, has led many to believe that he's out of touch with the sport's core values. The FIA, as a governing body, is meant to serve the sport and its participants, but, under Ben Salam's rule, it seems to have become more about enforcing control than fostering growth and collaboration. The upcoming votes and decisions will be crucial in determining if he will remain at the helm or if a change in leadership is needed to restore the trust and respect of those within the sport. The controversy surrounding Ben Salam is far from over. His leadership has certainly left a lasting impact on Formula One and other motorsport categories under the FIA's jurisdiction. The future remains uncertain, but one thing is clear. For the sport to thrive, there must be a shift towards a more balanced and collaborative approach. Will Ben Salam stay, or will the sport choose a new direction? Only time will tell, but the stakes are high.